Did you know that one of the best and easiest and fastest ways to shut down the noise is by having a robust filtering process? That's what we're going to talk about today. It's one of the things that helped me to trade part time. I was trading part-time back in 2011. It's how I started to gain momentum. It's how I eventually was able to leave the day job behind back in 2000 and well, it's been a while now, either 2018, 2018, 2019, and then to be here talking to you. And so last week we spoke about a filtering process. I want to make sure that you guys understand the concept and the philosophy of this filtering process. And so we're going to do high level today. We're going to do high level steps that you can take, apply to whatever your stock trading process is. And we're going to walk through it step by step. If you have questions throughout this, I want you to type them into the chat and type them in right away. In fact, right now, while you guys are here, leave a comment in the chat. Let me know that you are there. Let me know where you're from. Let me know that you're alive. And also, while you're doing that, make sure that you like and subscribe wherever you happen to be tuning in from. I see a bunch of people hopping on already. The important thing that I want to tell you, especially, I know that there's a lot of people that tune in from different places. We're going to be moving to YouTube in the very near future, and just streaming on YouTube. I did a poll recently. I did polls over on Instagram, over on X, and I asked those places because those are some of the larger spots where the audience is. And I said, what is your preferred streaming platform? Both of them were overwhelmingly over on YouTube. So what we're going to do is we're going to be streaming on YouTube. That lets you guys ask questions even better. If you saw the YouTube earlier, go click that link. If you guys want to stay where you're at for right now, that's fine too. Just get your questions into the chat and get started here. All righty. So let's go over to the screen share, and here it is. All right. So essential step-by-step guide to screening. Now, I want to give you this philosophy behind all this stuff, right? So the first thing that you're going to want to do, it's a 5-part series. The first thing that you're going to want to do is build your universe list. This is going to be true for whatever style you have. If you're a swing trading guy and a growth stock guy like I am, obviously this works. If you are fundamentally based, if you're a position trader, if you're long term, if you're intermediate term, if you're a day trader or a scalper, this will still work. You still want to have a universe list that you're going to trade from. The reason why is because a universe list will narrow down the playing field, right? If we zoom out on this infographic, and I shared this out earlier, and if you're interested in me giving you a copy, just email me. My email is down there at the bottom, or just feel free to screenshot this stuff. That's fine too. But you want to have your universe list. And the reason why, right? You want to identify stocks with a clear set of criteria to narrow down the options quickly. You don't want to be searching Twitter or somewhere else to see, well, what should I be trading today? No, you want to have your narrow list of here's what I'm going to look at, and here's why I'm going to look at these things. And the reason why, you could have whatever reasons you want, right? Like I focus on growth stocks with strong fundamentals and a solid business model. That's what I look at. If you're a value guy, you could look at value stuff, but you want to have it be something that's written down, something that's been thought out of. Here's what I'm going to go for. So that way it helps you filter out the noise. There's so much noise out there right now. It's unbelievable, right? But with everything happening in our country, if you're in the US, if you're outside the US, there's probably plenty of stuff going on in your country too. So much politically, and certainly so much stuff in the market. Having a robust screening process that starts with your universe list is going to save you a lot of time. And again, it saved me a lot of time when I was trading part time. Started back in 2011 when I finally transitioned to doing this full time 2018, 2019, and since. It's still the same basic process. All right. So you build your universe list and you have your set of criteria. Awesome. Move on to step number two. And step number two is going to be to find setups. Find setups. Now, your setup can be practically anything, right? Most people tend to think of setups as, oh, well, it's some kind of a chart pattern, right? But that a setup really just means this thing happened and therefore I'm going to take an action, right? And I'm going to buy this. That's the setup. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, their setup is idea comes from somewhere, shiny object, let's go impulse buy. And that's how most people tend to operate. And it doesn't work out so well. You can do a lot better than that. And you should do a lot better than that. That's why what I say over here is clearly define your setups ahead of time. Then go to your universe list and simply seek them out, right? So you've probably seen my spreadsheet a half dozen times. I'm not going to bring it up here, but I have a list of all of the types of setups that I have. There's not a ton of them, right? Over the years, I've built probably about 7 or 8 that I'm looking for, somewhere in that ballpark, that I know extremely well, that I've researched and I've seen thousands of these. So that way, when it pops up, pattern recognition, right? The REM in our brain. Well, uh, I forget the term, but well, what it stands for. But that part of us that when we see a pattern, it clicks, and that's what you want to train yourself to be able to do. If you have that part clearly defined beforehand, then you're able to say, aha, this that I'm seeing now, whatever it is, it meets my criteria and therefore could go onto your list. And then that's the part that allows me, right, to narrow down the list even further, much, much quicker. And that's what it'll be able to do for you. Your universe list, right? Your universe list might have maybe, I don't know, 300 stocks on it, maybe 400. Maybe you have a really narrow universe. Maybe your universe has 50 names, right? Your setups narrows that list down even further, and it's something that you'll be able to quickly identify. Then let's say you have your setups list, right? Well, I just ran my screens today. I ran my screens in deep view. We're going to be talking a lot more about deep view in future episodes of the show. But I ran it fairly quickly, narrowed my setups down to roughly 30 for tomorrow. Great. Now, on to step 3, right? So you have your list of setups. Now you need to go through that list and grade them. And it's not where you need to take out your fine-tooth comb and you start going through each and every single one, right? I know that there's a lot of teachers in our audience, right? So it's not where you have a whole classroom full of students and you need to grade every single paper. You will know right away if a trade jumps out at you or if it's kind of on the fence. What I do, anything that's on the fence gets kicked right out the door. I'm only interested in the ones that leap off the page that are like, wow, this is like 90% of the way there. And so I want to focus on those. So that's how I get to that list of maybe about 30 or so. And then it's very, very easy to cut that list in half. Again, part of the objective of all of this is to get ourselves down to the best of the best of the best opportunities and to also simultaneously filter out the noise. right? We don't want any noise. We're going to do our best to filter it all out. And this part here, where you are grading your setups, will help you, right? So, how do you do that? You set a clear benchmark for the percentage that the trade that you've identified needs to match the thing that you defined earlier in step two, right? So, you defined your setup in step two. The setups that you found, how closely do they match your definition? That's what you want to aim for. You're going to pull those out and then you'll move on to step four. Step four, you're going to verify the best of the best within that group. Which ones are you willing to put your money into? Right? Well, we all work very hard for our money, right? I know that I do. Right, I know that there's also the term of don't work hard for money, make your money work hard for you. Yeah, we're trying to do both right here, right? And the way that we're going to make our money work hard for us is by finding the best opportunities out there. So we need to do a great job of doing that, and the way that we do that is to conduct a thorough analysis of these top setups. Verify, are they worth putting your capital into? So double check, do they align with your strategy? Do they align with your risk tolerance? I came up with a whole 100-point checklist that I go through on these stocks. You could get it for free. It's over on marrowwealth.com. Maybe after we get through the rest of this, maybe we'll head on over to marrowwealth.com and I'll show you that 100-point checklist. It's a free thing. You're free able to use it. It's a fantastic tool. Work very hard on it. But that's what you need to do with step four. You need to identify and verify the best of the best. Finally, step five, write your trading plan. So now you have your best of the best. You've narrowed it down at this point. Maybe you have 1, 2, 3 names. Maybe you have 0 names. Maybe it's a very hot market. And let's say that you've got 5. Fantastic. What you're going to do now is write out your trading plan for each and every one of those. Develop a detailed plan for each setup that includes where you're going to get in, where's your stop loss, where are you going to take profits, how much are you going to put into this trade? Well, what's your how much capital are you going to allocate? What percentage of your capital are you willing to risk on this idea? Figure out all that stuff beforehand now, and you're only doing that now, right? For just these handful of trades, and you do all this, you document it, you adhere to your plan, and it really does help to silence the emotions because you've thought everything out very, very thoroughly. What's there to get emotional about, right? You have your plan, you know exactly what to do. The only thing that's left is to execute your plan. And it's not to say that emotions don't play a role at all if you do this. I certainly had my fair share of emotions, but this part here takes care of a lot of it. And if you're somebody that's still struggling with emotions after doing all this, then we've got something to talk about and dig into and try to figure out some of the reasons why. So, quite a bit discussed here. If you want to reach out to me, there's my email address, mike@marrowwealth.com. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/marrowwealth, for those of you that are watching over on YouTube. And if you're not watching over on YouTube, make sure that you get over to YouTube because once again, we will be streaming exclusively to YouTube in the not too distant future. And of course, head over to marrowwealth.com and let's do some Q&A. Let's do some Q&A. And where's my Q&A button? There's a Q&A button. Get your questions in. Let me know what questions you guys have. Okay, you want to know about the gauntlet that I mentioned earlier. That the question is about that 100-point checklist. The 100-point checklist is called the trade gauntlet. So here's what you do to get to the trade gauntlet. You come over to marwealth.com. You go over to tools and you go over to trade gauntlet calculator. And what this is going to do is it gives you this 100-point checklist for the stock that you're interested in. And the way that I have it laid out here, it's based on this system that I've uh, made that's kind of like CanSlim, but I call it Eagle. It's a little bit easier to remember. And I also allow in projections instead of just earnings and sales and annual sales. I look at projections too because sometimes stocks don't have any earnings or any sales, and then they could still make incredible moves just based off of the projections. So that doesn't happen all the time, but I wanted to be able to allow for that as well. So that's why my criteria is Eagle. Extraordinary earnings, sales, and or projections. Then I'm looking at whether or not this trade idea has asymmetric reward to risk. The way that I do that is by analyzing the chart pattern and assessing the target and how much confluence is around the support level. How about the confluence around the entries? Because the more confluences there are, then the more eyeballs are being drawn to this specific level. And when there's more eyeballs on it, it's more likely to work. And those happen to be the things that I'm looking for. And you might also notice that I've defined what it is that I'm looking for. I'm not just saying, oh, I want to have a whole bunch of confluences around the entry and the support level. And then I'm just picking out random things. Oh, well, somebody else that I happen to admire and have read their works, they say that they look at, I don't know, maybe they look at Bollinger Bands. So I don't really use Bollinger Bands, but this guy tweeted about it, so I'm going to put it on this chart. No, no. Just like when we were talking earlier about what we're going to define, you should also define how you're going to verify the best of the best, right? Have your checklist of criteria and don't waver from it. Stick with it. Make sure that you stick with it. And that's not to say that you can't evolve, right? Because that's a common question too. Well, how do you evolve? Shouldn't we always be evolving? Yes, we should. There's also a time and a place to evolve, and there's also testing that should be involved too. Don't skip steps. Don't skip steps. Don't cut corners. That's how you end up being unsuccessful at trading. That's how you end up running around for years and years like a chicken with your head cut off. Trust me, I know. I've been down that road. It took me 10 years to finally gain any level of success at this stuff. So I know a thing too about screwing up. So don't cut corners. Be thorough. Have your list of what it is that and how you're going to verify. Let's keep going here with the rest of the checklist, this trade gauntlet. So the G stands for growth game changers. I want to see if a stock has in a growing industry, if the products and the story makes sense. I want to see increasing fund ownership. I want to see the management owning quite a bit of this thing, and I want to see multiple stocks in the same group. Now, all these check boxes, nothing will ever check all 100 boxes. There might be more or less boxes on here, but nothing is ever going to check 100% of them. What I'm more interested in, and you could see some of the other things over here too. And I added this section for boosters because as I've evolved, there have been certain things that when I identify it, it tends to increase the odds of success for a stock. Uh, just to give you an example, when a stock is a sector leader, it tends to boost the odds of the stock being successful. So, what is a sector leader? Uh, Perhaps you've heard a lot of different definitions about a sector leader. I'll give you my definition of sector leader. The way that I define sector leader is this: the stock is in a top ranked industry group, top 20 industry groups. There's about 197 if you're still looking at IBD. If you're using markets or if you're using Deep View, I believe they have somewhere in the ballpark of 150 or 160. So still the top 20 is a great place to look for these leaders. And also to look for rapidly improving group rank. So if the group rank today is say 50, but last week it was 100, well, that's a massive improvement, and that's something that I wanna be interested in. So, if I'm seeing that as a sector leader, and then I'm finding the top stocks in that sector, then I wanna be interested in those. So, I would give it boosters for that. And so you go through all this stuff and eventually you get a score. And from my own research, from going back and seeing my best trades in the past, what I noticed was that my best trades all scored 7 or higher. It's not that 6.99 or even 6.5 can't perform, but all of the best performers, they all scored sevens or higher. So now I have a hard rule that says that I will only take a trade if the stock scores 7 or higher. I'll only place a working order if it scores 7 or higher. And so that's my rule. And that is the trade gauntlet. So let me know what other questions you have. I'll get the website back up here. So again, you go over to marrowwealth.com, you go over to tools, you go to trade gauntlet calculator, and it's right there. Any other questions before we wrap things up and call it a day? You want to go back over to this infograph and take a screenshot. Sure, let me zoom out a bit and then go ahead, fire away. You could also reach out to me and I will send you a copy of it. Email me, mike@marrowwealth.com. And I'll send it to you. I'll probably come up with some sort of a landing page where you could go and put in your email and download it. But at least for now, just send an email to mike@marrowwealth.com and I'll be happy to send you this. Just let me know that you're interested in getting this step-by-step guide to stock screening. All right. So looks like that is it for today. So again, I want to say thank you all so much for being with me today. It's always a pleasure and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Much love and God bless.